Welcome to another edition of the Nightly Nuge. And Ted, again, all week, we're dedicating the Nightly Nuge to Mark Schmidt, your cousin who you lost this past weekend. This week, we're tackling issues as we approach these critical midterm elections. Yesterday, I think our listeners enjoyed listening to you talk about crime and how that's different between the two parties. Today, I want to talk about education. And you see the numbers. All the moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas out there see the numbers. American children are scoring the lowest they've ever scored in tests across the country. All the while math, reading, and science scores are dropping, our teachers' unions are teaching diversity, inclusion, equity, the DIE program. Climate change is taught in schools. CRT, the critical race theory, is being taught. Transgenderism is being taught and celebrated to young children all across the country. And I'm just wondering, and our listeners want to know, Ted, do you see a distinction on how the two major political parties are handling education? And do you think one has a better solution than the other?
Well, you got Professor Nuge reporting for duty. I never went to college. I was too busy learning stuff because I've been talking about the self-inflicted scourge of the dumbing down of America for over 50 years. Way back in Amboy Duke's radio interviews and my different writings for publications, I've always referenced how stupid people are getting. I just met a guy just here in Michigan this morning that didn't know the mourning dove was the #1 game bird in the world, even though Michigan grows a billion of them a year. That's just one anecdotal example of the dumbing down of America. You're right, the indicators are inescapable. Our kids are graduating from high school. They can't write. They can't read. They can't add. They can't subtract. They can't multiply. They can't divide. They don't know which end of a hammer to grab. And that's because the Democrats are beholding to the corrupt criminality, the scamming, the rip-off monsters of the unions for the educators, the teachers' unions, and the fact that there's a National Education Association and that there's another government bureaucracy in charge of education that is run by Democrats and Democrat policies. There it is in a nutshell. The dumbing down of America is being done intentionally so people can be so ignorant, so uneducated, so worldly unwise that they will blindly and foolishly, suicidally obey insane laws and regulations. If Rosa Parks tried to sit down on a bus seat today, the Democrats would give the Klansmen a reward and put Rosa Parks in jail again. Because most kids graduated from school and they've never even heard of Rosa Parks. They don't know about the Trail of Tears. They don't know anything. I meet these kids. They don't even know where to tighten their belt around their waist or where to wear their pants. I think hygiene is challenging to most of them today. I'll tell you, ultimately, the choice is clear. Democrats are against education. The Republicans have policies ready to go that is about education. Kids that are uneducated are feeble, weak, gullible, and extremely vulnerable to illegal commands, decrees, mask wearing, experimental shots, and that you don't have to work for a living, that self-sufficiency is something to avoid. So there it is in a nutshell. The Dems are bad, the Republicans are good.
During the pandemic, and I did air quotes for those listening, not watching, the Democrats were all for lockdowns, shutting down schools. The Republicans wanted to open schools. Do you see a difference in the way Democrats handled the pandemic versus the Republicans? And are we paying the price for that now?
Well, again, you brought up that example, but we could go on and on for days and days and hours about examples of how the Democrats have intentionally dumbed down these children to make them more vulnerable, more susceptible to insane regulations and decrees and illegal oath-violating anti-American mandates. So that's just one example where the Democrats did this whole fake weaponized Wuhan virus with our own CDC acknowledging in their own documents that it's not a vaccine, but we'll use the term vaccine because people are comfortable with it. Well, the Germans use the comfortable indicator that you're getting on the trains to go to the showers. people will go, that's an outrageous analogy. No, I think it's an accurate one, because when our own government agencies uses a fake and dishonest term like vaccine, knowing that it's not a vaccine and that it won't safeguard you from the weaponized Wuhan virus, and it's in their own documents, then people who are not educated will be more ready to obey such insane, suicidal, cultural destroying mandates, regulations, laws, and decrees. So yeah, we could go on and on with examples, but it's perfectly clear. If you want the dumbest kids in the world, which America is now accomplishing, kids graduating that can't write, they can't spell. All across the country, the statistics are irrefutable. If you want dumb kids that are susceptible, vulnerable, and ready to become sheep and slaves, Democrats are your party. If you want educated people ready to be rugged individuals, self-sufficient, and entrepreneurs ready to be that man in the arena work ethic, taking on the American dream, swirling dust, stumbling once in a while, but getting back up to be the best that they can be, you would vote Republican. Hello?
Wow. Tomorrow, Ted, I want to tackle an issue that I know is on most Americans' minds daily. I know yours, mine, the border crisis down south. I think there's a distinction between how the two parties want to handle that. Our listeners, our viewers want to get that from you tomorrow night. Before we go, I do want to encourage everyone to go to huntthevote.org, make a plan to vote, then go vote. Ted, see you tomorrow night.
The Nightly Nuge, there's no fake news. I'm allergic.